Oh, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from in the world. But this is Black Speakers Magazine and the Speakers Magazine collab. What I say, where we're bringing the pages to life today. So we have with us today Nkechi Taifa, which is our cover girl for February, which is Black History Month. You kind of see her blow up behind her as well. But we're going to be talking with her about who she is beyond the pages. You kind of can see and read from Speakers Magazine, but we are the official magazine for Black Speakers Network. And there was none other person that we know that would really be the epitome of a top Black speaker during Black History Month than Nkechi Taifa, which actually was also on the cover in the month of 2023. So she is a two timer. We had some that are four or five timers, but she's a two timer in terms of 2023 and 2024. And you can see the great photo shoot that she had. And she can even talk a little bit about that as well that she did at the DMV, thanks to our photographer, Jeff Brooks, who did the photo shoot for her as well. So, um, the reason why I really wanted Nkechi on the cover, one, she went to HBCU like YB, my co-host today, a historically Black college. So we're in Black History Month, but really to talk about the whole thing about books, Black books, and YB, your author as well. But
Mhm.
at a certain point in time, Blacks couldn't read. They didn't allow us to read. Then we got to the point where we were writing, and then now it's almost like full circle where they're trying to ban the books that we are writing. So
Mhm.
Nkechi is a real big proponent of making sure that justice is served. She's an attorney by trade. And so I really wanted to talk about Black books in general. She topped the list of AALBC, which is African American Literary Book Club, AALBC, for the top books in both categories. And you could talk about that, Nkechi, as well. But I want everyone to know a little bit about my co host as well, YB, who is also an author. And then we kind of lead into Nkechi, if you can tell us your backstory of how you became Nkechi Taifa, the great author and speaker.
Yeah,
So,
we're excited about having you here today, and I love being with Pam Perry. I'm not going to embarrass her and tell her who she is to me because I did that last time, and it worked out very well. But to be in a space where we are as a people, to be able to empower, inspire, and impact people. That's what we do as speakers. That's what we do as authors, and this movement is empowering a tremendous number of people. So we're happy to have you, Keisha, and I'm excited about you being able to tell your story and empower the people that are watching and the people that are listening.
Brother YV, thank you so very much. I'm thrilled to be here. Dr. Pam Perry, you have just set me up so perfectly in all my different rings. It was because of you that I did that TEDx talk on the issue, on my personal issue of reparations and issues. Time has come. It is you who has helped to catapult me into the national and international spotlight, not only with respect to being the cover this year, but also the cover last Black History Month. So I am very thrilled to share this platform. And about my backstory, okay, people hear that name, Nkechi Taifa. I mean, did your mama name you that? Well, I can assure you, as a child of the 1950s, that decade, my mama did not name me Nkechi Taifa. But I came up during the era of civil rights era, the Black Power era, during the time of the late '60s. I'm a teenager, and I'm going into this bookstore in Washington D.C.,
mhm.
historic Black bookstore called Drum and Spear bookstore, and I see African names book, and I said, yeah, I think I want an African name. So I'm strumming through the pages of this African names book, 16 years old, and I see this name. To me, it looked like it said Na Ki Chi. I said, oh, it means God's gift. I like that. I think I'm a gift to God. So I started calling myself Nikichi. Little did I know until I went to college years later, HBCU, Howard University. Hey, that I was not pronouncing it correctly. It really would be Nkechi. It's a name from West Africa, Nigeria, and really should be Nkechi. And I tried my best to say, okay, Nkechi. But Nkechi just had that ring to it for.
Mhm.
And so I theorized, well, that's part of the harm that we don't even know our own languages. Okay. That's
Mhm.
part of the cultural deprivation. And this was one of the reasons and issues that I became very much interested in those early years of the issue of reparations that we need to repair. We need to heal from
Mhm.
the atrocities, the cultural onslaught against us, the physical onslaughts against us, the psychological onslaughts against us, even to the fact of our names, our very names. And so I decided to keep my pronunciation
Mhm.
Nkechi as opposed to Nkechi because I theorized, well, our tongues have been colonized and
Yeah.
we are a new branch of the African family on this side of the Atlantic Ocean. And we have our own little nuances, and the way I pronounce my name is one. So that's kind of the backstory of my name. I added my African name to my birth name. And my
Mhm.
parents have always been supportive of everything that I have done. They're now in the ancestral realm.
Wow, that's amazing. Nikichi, that is amazing at 16 years old. So I told her earlier, I said, she's not new to this, she's true to this, right?
Yeah.
So everybody else kind of like has a way where they're trying to be cool by being, really in the Afrocentric space, and especially Black history. You'll see everybody, but it's like, no, this is her. She had an epiphany when she was very young, and she saw a picture of a Black Panther, I believe it was, and you were just had a lot of questions about that, and you were always about the justice and the right and this and that. So that is just part of your story. What I want you to really tell a little bit about is the books. So before you became an attorney, you were a teacher and you taught children. So tell us a little bit about why you felt the need to write children's books for African American children.
Yeah, so when I was coming up, the only books that we had were at that time they were called the Dick and Jane books. It was White Dick and White Jane and Spot the dog. And I'm thinking, there's nobody in those books that look like me. And I'm teaching first grade in what's called an Afrocentric school, kind of like the upgrade of the freedom schools during the civil rights era. And I'm saying we need images that affirm us as a people. We need images, positive Black images that children can look up to. So I came up with what's called The Adventures of Kojo and Alma, and Sheba, the black cat who brings good luck. Okay, so that was one of my books. I came up with Shining Legacy, story poems and tales for the young. So Black heroes and heroines will forever will be sung. Because all we knew about during those days were Martin Luther King. We might know about Rosa Parks, or we might not know about Rosa Parks, but we didn't know about many others of the freedom fighters of the day. We didn't know about Joseph Q and the rebellion aboard the slave ship Amistad. We didn't know about Demart
Mhm.
Vesey and the elaborate insurrection that he planned in South Carolina. We didn't know about um, Toussaint Louverture being the
Mhm.
architect of what became an independent Haiti, the first Black republic in the Western Hemisphere. We knew a little bit about Rosa Parks, but not that much. We might have heard the name Harriet Tubman, but didn't know that much. Didn't know much about
Mhm.
Sojourner Truth. Knew nothing about Fannie Lou Hamer. All of these are persons that I uplifted in my book Shining Legacy. Knew nothing about Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or Paul Robeson, Malcolm X. So all of these were heroes that I sought to highlight in my book, Shining Legacy, Story Poems and Tales for the Young, so Black
Mhm.
heroes forever.
I love
Will
that
be.
cover. Oh my god.
And
That
this
is
book,
amazing.
Dr. Pam, can you believe my books, my children's books, were banned by the Central York, Pennsylvania School District in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd? And I'm
Mm.
thinking, I wrote these books back in the Johnny Legacy came out in 1983, and it had been out of print for years. how did they end up on the banned book list? So I vowed, well, I'm going to put my books back in print, my
Yes.
children's books, because if they're going to seek to ban it, I'm going to make sure they are out front for a new generation of children to love and enjoy.
And so when they came back out, you reprinted them. I remember you were like, "Can you believe that?" And so they ended up at the top of AALBC's book list from
Yes, African American
1980.
Literature Book Club.
Yes, is one of the top books in 2023.
Yes. Well, yeah, actually, not just in 2023. It was top book ever since they came out. In 2021, I think is when they came out again. And also, I might add, like you said, I'm not a newcomer to this. I actually wrote a book on reparations. I co-authored a book on reparations in 1987. We co-authored by two other authors. And this book, which had been out of print, was also on the banned book list. So I decided to um, um, do a book that, I'm sorry, I have writings on this, Reparations on Fire. I updated
Mhm.
it and I included the original book that was banned as an
Yes.
appendix. So I was just churning out the book since 2020, left and right, because if we don't tell our own stories, who will?
Mhm.
I wrote my memoir because if I don't tell about the things that motivated me, that inspired me, that moved and grew me, that made me into the person that I am today, that made me into the lawyer that I am today, to made me into the storyteller that I am today, then who else will?
Mm,
I want to inspire others who come after me, just as I was inspired by my predecessors as well.
mm, mm. YB, does that remind you of a movement? I mean, when someone when something catches you, it catches you on fire. So,
It comes right from the spirit, and so that actually leads to my question in terms of your influence from Howard University, right? So we talk a lot about HBCUs, and HBCUs have now been the kind of the flavor now because of everything that's going on. But HBCUs have always been hot. Can you talk a little bit about your Howard experience and how that influenced your fight for not only reparations but to be able to empower our people?
Yes, well, I was at Howard during the mid 70s, and it was at a point when I thought, oh, the revolution has passed me by. I mean, Howard students took over the A building in 1968. I said, oh, everything is finished and done. But it was not, because my HBCU, Howard University, helped to nurture that passion that I had with me in me. There was an English teacher that I had, Esther Vassar, and I'm going to call her name because she was so very influential to me. I remember writing about the poet Nikki Giovanni in her class. I remember all the different cultural things. She wore a hip wrap like I like to wear all the time. And it wasn't until almost 40 years later that she contacted me because she saw my memoir, Black Power, Black Lawyer, in one of the Howard magazines. And I had mentioned her in the pages of this memoir, and she was so very impressed. I had not talked to her since I left Howard in 1977. And here
wow.
it comes in 2002. She's contacting me, and we are reminiscing. And she's done so many great things since that time. But she and many others, John Oliver Killens, he's a great writer, was one of my professors. Haki Matabuti, one of the publishers, a great
Yes,
publisher of Third World Press, was one of my professors. Sterling
I
Brown,
used
now not
to.
the actor Sterling Brown that we see on the screen, but Sterling Brown, who was the poet laureate at Howard University, at Elder, actually wrote uh, um, acknowledgement on the back of Shining Legacy.
Wow.
I mean, he was a professor emeritus of Howard University. And he said, Nkechi Taifa correctly perceives a great need for role models for African American youth.
Mhm.
Her book,
Mhm.
Shining Legacy, commendably attempts to fulfill that need in well-researched poems and tales, etc., etc., etc. So, I mean, Hakeem Adibuti, wrote on the back of my book, Sonia Sanchez. This was back in 1983. So I
Oh my
maintained that when I republished the book in 2020 as well. So
wow.
Howard held a very near and dear place in my heart There were legends that were there when I was there, and I sat at their feet and I drank from their wisdom.
Mm,
That
awesome.
is so. Did you meet? I think I remember a story because in this issue, also, we'll get to it in a minute. Was Ben Chavis? Were you walking across campus?
Okay, so let me tell that story, if I may. When I was at Howard, Ben Chavis was in prison at the time. He was part of a group called the Wilmington 10 who were
Mm,
unjustly arrested and incarcerated, unjustly and unfairly. I worked, actually, he doesn't know this, but I worked on his defense. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to be a lawyer, to stand up for justice. And I remember getting on a bus outside of Howard University, and it was a charter bus, and we went down to Wilmington, North Carolina, where he was incarcerated. We had a big rally and a big demonstration. And again, I worked and helped to highlight his case and other cases of people that we call political prisoners. And now,
mhm.
of course, he's been out for decades. He headed up the NAACP. Now he's with the newspaper, head of the newspaper, National Newspaper Publishers
He was
Association.
actually,
I was on his show. I hope to be
yeah,
on it again. And he is featured in this issue, Black History Month issue of the magazine. Dr.
yeah.
Ben Chavis forever holds a very soft spot in my heart because he went through something that you don't want anyone to go through, to
Mhm.
be unjustly incarcerated.
Mm,
He was part of the co-founder with Farrakhan for the Million Man March as well.
mm,
Absolutely. Yes,
mm,
indeed. And
That
actually, quiet as his count, I was at the Million Man March, but I was there as a legal observer. I helped to
okay.
organize the legal observers from Howard University and other universities and colleges to help provide assistance if needed at the Million Man March. And do you know, there was not one incident,
Yeah, it was it was
not one, but we
beautiful.
were there ready with our legal skills
mm.
Mhm.
if it should so arise.
Did
You
you
know
go
the
to that YB?
I did
Excuse
not.
me?
I was not. I was not in a framework at that time to go. I did watch it on television. It was an inspiring
Amazing.
thing, and to hear people say not a lot of folks would show up, and literally millions of men showed
Mhm.
up, and then for them to have future events. Talk a little bit about what we, as this generation should do to grab the baton and keep doing what you've already done. When we talk about movements, oftentimes movements get put out because somebody doesn't want to pass the baton. So talk a little bit about what this generation should be doing to grab what you've already done. I mean, we talked about your book being banned in the past and now it's back. And how do we fight this in this next generation? What words of wisdom can you give to those who are passionate about this work but may not have seen the movement up front? Like, what would you say to those folks?
I think that's an absolute excellent question because it's one that is very much front and center today. One of the things I feel that the youth of today need to realize that it is a cyclical process. What they're doing today is nothing new. I mean, I was part of the Black Books in the Schools movement during the early 70s. I was part of the independent Black schools movement. I was part of the anti-apartheid movement. I was part of the reparations movement, still in part of the movement to
Mhm.
free political prisoners. And what I think the youth of today need to realize that there is nothing new under the sun. The Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matter movement today stands on the shoulders of each and
Mhm.
every one of these prior movements. They need to sit at the feet of the elders that are still there. They need to read the writings of them. They need to uplift the triumphs, and they need to make sure that they don't fall into the pitfalls that we fell into. There's a blueprint that is already there, and they need to just look at that blueprint. They need to listen to the elders, sit at their feet, and move strongly forward so we can finally achieve the victories that are owed and are due to us. They need to be sure that um, uh, don't let things trample over their plans. You know, stay unified. Don't let confusion come in, and most of all, we need to support each other. That's something that we hadn't done too much in the past, and much of that was exacerbated by outside forces. We need to make sure that they know, don't let outside forces derail the movements of today.
That
Love
is
it.
good. You talk about unifying. That is so that's the purpose of really Black Speakers Network. The reason why Brian Oles and I joined forces, really trying to uplift each other. The whole thing about sitting at the feet of elders, one of our mentors for the whole movement, because we did it in the Speak Up book. And we'll kind of talk about that. Brian spearheaded this book with Black Speakers Network, but the forward was by George Fraser
Hmm.
and the afterword was by Les Brown. Again,
Oh,
these are
yes.
the elders that we learn
Legends.
from, listen to. Again, the GOAT, Willie Jolly. So, what are some of the, I guess, the people that you sat at the feet of that really kind of like ignited your fire or just passed the baton to you as you were coming up?
So I sat at the feet of people who many don't know who they are, but they will know very soon, because one of the main people whose feet I sat under, her name she's an ancestor, Queen Mother Audley Moore. She was born in 1898 in Louisiana. She was a follower of the Marcus Garvey movement in the 1920s,
Ooh,
and
wow.
she has been active in every single reparations movement in the 20th century until her death in 1996 at the age of 97 years old. I say that many people will hear more about her soon, because an academic has recently written a book that hopefully should be coming out very soon on her life, Queen Mother Audley Moore. We call her the mother of the modern era reparations movement. And there were others. I talk about them in my book, Black Power, Black Lawyer, My Audacious Quest for Justice. But there also was Dr. Jean Sindab, but I'm going to lift her up. She
Yeah.
was head of an organization called the Washington Office on Africa, of which was my first job out of college that was not part of the educational thing. I was in law school at night and working in this anti-apartheid organization during the day. This was during the time when Mandel Robinson became head of Trans Africa, but the Washington Office on Africa was a church and union sponsored organization. And this black woman, Dr. Jean Sindab, was at its helm. And she's someone that I just want to lift up her name, because she's someone that influenced so many people, not just myself. And she's an ancestor as well. And there are others, they were all ancestors. I dedicated my book to three male ancestors and three female ancestors. And I will say, going back to Queen Mother Audley Moore, she influenced Dr. Martin Luther King. She influenced Malcolm X. She influenced Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
Again, she influenced me. And I had the honor of placing my months old baby in her arms and getting that picture at the
I
same
saw that
reparations
picture.
conference where Rosa Parks was at. And I put my baby in Rosa Parks. So if I knew Dr. Pam today and Brother YB, what if I knew back then what I know today, I would have been snapping pictures left and right. Oh my goodness. Because that all that is history
It
in
is.
the making.
It is. So, Nikichi, that's amazing. I love that. So, one of the things I want you to do, because I don't want you to drop off, if you have any other tabs open, only keep open StreamYard because the Wi-Fi is a little touchy.
I
So you
do.
will,
Okay.
yeah. So close those
Okay.
because this is too good to drop off, right? Because I'm like, this is history. There you go. There
Yeah,
you go. So now you're clear. So
yeah.
one of the
Okay.
things that I want people to know, one is about the books, but really talk about the um the critical race theory, CRT. People not really, and from the legal mind, you kind of can explain it to us succinctly about that. It started, I guess DeSantos maybe started it in Florida. I'm not sure where it came from
Started
and
the
why it needs.
backlash to it. Yeah.
Okay,
He started
okay,
the backlash to it. I mean, critical race theory has been around for decades. I mean, it's not something that's at the elementary school level or anything like it is a law school or higher education, academic pursuit. And for the
Mm.
uh, uh, folk who don't mean well, should we say that, to take that and twist it around and say that we are teaching black children, white children to hate themselves. It is absolutely hogwash. And whenever there are upliftments, like Black Lives Matter. It was an upliftment. Whenever there are upliftments, there's always going to be a backlash. And this whole onslaught against Black education about teaching true history is
Mhm.
part of that backlash. And, it's something that we really need to rally against. I grew up in the 50s and early 60s, and all I saw were white images. That's all. I saw nothing affirming to us, black people, black children, or anything like that. I saw nothing to make me feel good about
Mhm.
myself. And we had to fight to get Black history in the
Mhm.
schools. And so for now, for them to take it out of the schools, to take it out of history, it that is a crime in and of itself. That's all I
Mhm.
can say. It is a crime in and of itself. So we need to struggle against what um, DeSantis and others are doing. We need to watch this ridiculous legislation that is going across the a country, um, and we
Just
need to
watch it.
affirm.
Mhm.
I mean, no one is talking about making white children feel bad about themselves. All we're talking about is telling
History.
real, true history, not
Mhm.
whitewashing it, not sweeping it under the rug. But it is a benefit to everyone,
Mhm.
okay, to know the truth about what is happening so that we can heal and so that we can move forward as one country unified in tandem with each other.
Yeah, that's so important. And as a speaker, what are some opportunities that you are keeping your eyes open for, right? We're all speakers here, so we're always looking for ways to impact. But when it comes to the work that you are looking to continue doing, what type of opportunities are you looking for? If your ideal person was watching right now, what would you want them to know, and who would that ideal person be?
Well, Brother YB, I love that question. Oh, I want the big stage, y'all. Which is why I'm hooked up with Dr. Pam Perry. I want the
Amen.
big stage because I feel I have big messages
Mhm.
to present. And Pam Perry has taught me the tools on how to present them effectively. Okay. And so you can garner so much more attention from so many more people, the larger your audience is. I have a pretty decent following, a pretty decent audience. Okay, but I want to expand it even more. And that's what Speakers Magazine serves to do. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you're going to mention, but I know there's something big coming up on February 14th. But I guess I won't mention it. But,
No, we
it's
can
like,
mention it. We can mention it.
oh, we got to get to it.
February
Yeah,
14th is
but
actually the birth date or the birth date of Frederick Douglass,
yes.
and consequently Valentine's Day. But she's alluding to the fact that she's going to have a billboard, a moving billboard, a video in Times Square. So
Woo,
in New York Times Square. So on February
woo.
14th, that is the day. So all day, about 800 times that day, you'll be seeing this face on a
Yes.
billboard in New York
Yes.
Times Square. And
Yes.
that was a dedication of what date, because we wanted to do it in Black History Month, and she said February
Yes,
14th because it was Frederick Douglass's birthday. And obviously,
Mhm.
absolutely.
people do know that part of history, right? That he's a great abolitionist and he's a great
Yeah.
speaker and about that kind of thing. So that is the thing that Nkechi will be seeing. And I want the world to know that this is the reason why she does the work that she does. It's something for someone to continue on after so many years, so many decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, going on 5 decades of the work that she's doing. And you still hear the passion. YB, you asked what would be a big stage for her. I mean, for her to, infiltrate, the White House, getting that audience, worldwide and getting, if the White House has a stage of some sort where she can actually speak. That is where she needs to be. I mean, Nkechi for president. I mean, that would be like the thing to
No, I don't think so. That's not. But I would like to pump up, other people with respect to that. But quietness is kept. During the Obama administration, I was in the White House almost every day.
Come
With
on.
the advocacy work that I was doing, my justice work, my criminal justice, criminal legal justice reform issue, I was very influential during that administration on helping to get laws passed and helping to get people out of prison who had been in there just too long, and the like. And so I just want to say, um, yeah, 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 yeah.
and doing a commencement for Howard would be good too.
Yeah, and that's really why I bring that up, because I think, for a lot of us as HBCU alums, we it's a lot that we do, but if people don't know, if we don't toot our own horn, or if we don't talk about it, or if people don't allow us to talk about it, folks might not even know. I was on
Mm.
your LinkedIn profile. That's how I knew. What I'm saying? I was like, okay, Howard, I'm gonna make sure we talk about that, right? So I think as
Yes.
alums, being able to deliver messages to our up and coming alums, to just put that stamp. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we could do, especially when it comes to the empowerment of our people. And I love the fact that you're doing your billboard is going to be up on Frederick Douglass's birthday, because I love the quote, where there's no struggle, there's no
There's
progress.
no
We
progress.
got to continue to struggle so that we can continue to progress. And I'm so grateful that you have graced us with your presence and shared that energy, because I walk away even more inspired. Like they used to call me a rebel rouser at Virginia Union, right? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But when I found out, I said, yep, that's exactly what I am. I'm proud to be that. So yeah,
Yeah, people used to call me Pam X. It's like she is just so blackly black. It's like Pam X. My family's like, oh, here come Pam X. It's like,
Pam
ooh,
X,
if we have something, it's like, well, did you buy it from a black person? Did you buy it from a? Did you get the food from the black? Da, da, da? Did you get the
yeah,
car from? I like your car, but did you buy it from a black dealer? They were
right,
like, oh my
right,
god. It's like, yeah, yeah. I was, we got to support each other. I was like, you know what? You buy all day long. I said, and we vote. We vote black. I said, but we also vote with our dollars.
that's
So
right,
are you going to black
Absolutely.
bookstores? Are you going to black buying black books? Are you supporting black organizations? Are you a member NAACP? Are you watching black TV show? I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
there is ways that you can do. You may not be able to go on big stages and things like that if you're just watching this, but you could do small things that kind of move black people forward, and you could do it
right,
with your dollars by
that's right.
supporting certain
Hmm.
things. And that is George Fraser talks us that our dollars have to circulate within our community. In other communities, it circulates maybe about 100 times, 200 times. With ours, he said it's only about eight.
Hmm.
Our
And that's
dollars.
one reason why financial literacy is so very important, specifically during this day and time when so many people are talking about the issue of reparations. We need to know how to manage money, y'all.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
That's right.
And
That's
because when it comes, and again, my whole thing is it's not just a check, but a check is part of it. But we need to learn how to manage that so that we can keep it and morph it in our own communities.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is good. That is good. I want to go through the magazine a little bit so that we can kind of get through that and you can kind of tell some stories about that as well. So the cover right here, your company is Taifa Group LLC. It's a social enterprise firm. So explain to people what a social enterprise firm is, first of all, because a lot of people don't know. They know that you're an attorney, you're activist, and you're author and a speaker, but a social enterprise firm is what you are. So explain to
Yes.
people what that is.
Yeah, so it's a firm that's not really just about profit. It's about justice and it's about sharing and it's about being a part of the process as a part of just part of making money, shall we say. So I call myself social enterprise, social justice. And that's what Taifa Group is all about. It's not just representing clients or representing companies, but it's being a part of the process with
Mm.
the client in terms of getting their aims and their objectives realized. So, yeah, that's what it is. It's,
All
it's
right.
public engagement with the client.
Does it combine a little bit with DEI as well? I know that has been like DEI,
Yes.
diversity, equity, and
Yes.
inclusion, and belonging, and in as many letters as they want to keep adding to it. But one of the things that they're trying to do is really erase
Yeah.
DEI from. They said it's not necessary, just like they're trying to erase affirmative action. That's not
Yeah.
necessary, just like they've
Yeah.
been trying to keep out reparations. So, is that part of what you do? Some of the work
Yeah,
that you do?
absolutely. And again, anytime there is advancement, there's going to be backlash. And so
Uh,
the whole thing about DEI and abolishing that from companies and industries and academia is all about that backlash. We must fight and struggle against that. As Brother YB said, Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess the favor of freedom, yet
Hmm.
depreciate agitation, are those who want crops without plowing up the ground. And he goes on and on. But we must be a part of that struggle. We must not allow these adversities to shut us down.
mm,
DEI is here. It must be here to stay. I mean, diversity, equity, inclusion. I mean, what is radical about that?
Right.
I mean, you can't get more mainstream. I mean, if this is a country that's supposed to be about what it proclaims, its ideals it proclaims to be about.
mhm.
So yeah,
That is good, that is good. And on the cover, also too, if you kinda hover over that, you'll see that the video that is, included in there, and that video, when you click it on issue, is, her TED Talk. So you'll see her TED Talk there, really, like, highlighting her work of talking about reparations. The cover story there, it says, "Find your voice from adversity," is a article that Brian Oles, the founder of Black Speakers Network, wrote as well. So we go into the issue here, uh, and we kind of see, obviously, this is a Black History uh, issue, but you see that we have other speakers in there as well. If you want to watch the videos, you can. I did purposely. My podcast, Get Out There, Get Known. If you notice, the colors are red, black, and green. It's a signal to, or I call like a subtle call to letting people know that this is an African American podcast. So anyone who kind of sees like, well, why did she pick those colors? That's why. Okay, that was
Hmm.
a reason.
Pam X. Pam X.
It's like
Dr. Pam Max.
so, I'm child of the '60s. You said child of the '50s, so I'm child of the '60s. So, I'm like the James Brown right? So that whole thing, and then I'm Motown too on top of that. Like really?
Amen.
Woo!
Okay, so
Amen.
in Detroit, we had Coleman Young, who was like the mayor that I only knew like my whole life. I thought all mayors were black. It was like that's all I knew, right? That's all I do. So now I go into the next page, and we just really talk about the NAACP says I celebrate. They took that out and says I make Black History, and that was one of their logos that they were talking about. And you just kind of see some of the covers that we had over the years. You see Stephanie Mills. I love Stephanie Mills.
Hmm.
Uh, People don't realize how such a militant person Stephanie Mills really is. She's very vocal. She is just like, yeah. So anyway, so she's holding up her thing, her fists like this as well. Les Brown, obviously Dr. Wilmore, Ed Gordon. Ed Gordon is someone I went to high school with and is doing a lot of work. You see Chavis was on the cover, Cookie Johnson as well, Kim Coles. But really the main thing on this is that I think on this one I talk about Black Authors Matter, because we're talking about Black Lives Matter. So,
Hmm.
the organization that created that T-shirt, we partner with as well, the National Black Book Festival. They created that T-shirt, Black Authors Matter, and that's the name of their TV show as well, podcast called Black Authors Matter. Shout out to Gwen for doing that. On the other side, Michelle McKinney Hammond. So this issue is really about Black authors, Black speakers. Michelle has written over 40 books. She is a one of the pioneers, I guess you would say, in really writing Christian nonfiction books. So back in the '90s, when they weren't really publishing that many Black books by mainstream publishers, by Black people, Michelle was out there writing the books. So she had been in the houses, and from Harrison House to Harvest House to all the different houses, Waterbrook Press. She was my client, doing that, which is a vision of Warner Faith. She was writing books. So her books really are empowering women. She has a conference coming up called the Diva Conference, Divinely Inspiring Victorious Attitude,
Hmm.
with Shirley Ralph, coming up in Atlanta. So Michelle is like one of the heroes of about Black books, and she lives in Ghana right now. She between right now she's in Chicago, but she lives in Ghana, and she was born in Chicago, but her father's Ghana, and when he passed, she moved over there, and she's been over there ministering and doing music, doing books, acting, the whole kind of things. She said it's so different. I mean, growing up in Chicago, she worked in advertising and now living in Ghana. She said she has so much more freedom. She for her to explain it is just, I'm a Midwest girl too. And she says, no, you just don't understand what it's like to be living in a country that you you feel like you don't have the angst that you had over here in America. She said it's so she's acting, she's singing, she's right. I mean, it's freedom. It's total freedom. So anyway, that's Michelle McKinney Hammond. The next page we talk about her videos are there as well. Deidre. So Deidre is from New York. YB. I think she's from Brooklyn. Yeah, I was gonna say I think she's from Brooklyn, and she's an attorney as well. And she wrote a children's book. And so this is her story. Her video is there as well. But one of the things that Deidre, I think this is must be an attorney chip or something. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
I was just about to say that we got some legal eagles in here. We got some
Yeah,
legal eagles.
yeah, and she just felt like, being an attorney, she's dealing with a lot of things that manifest when people older. She said, but if we could just get to them younger, a lot of things that they know about themselves, they wouldn't act out as they got older. And so she just
Hmm.
felt like there was a lot of history that was not being taught. And
Hmm.
so she wrote this particular book, um, and really, it's been on in New York on the New York libraries have it in their facilities and things like that. So Deidre's doing really good with that, and you'll see her video there. I interview her there as well. Again, reading the books are important. Understanding your history. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. So and you're apt to repeat history if you don't know it as well. So
Right.
writing books is also important. So Dawn D. Owens, who happens to be in Michigan right now, but she's actually from Texas.
Hmm.
She talks about publishing books. So Dawn talks about how your book is your gateway, and it is a authority builder.
It
Uh,
is.
the word author and authority, they are synonymous, right? So you've got the word author and authority. But
Mhm.
why do you want to talk a little bit about books and why that's
I
important?
do. Yeah, I do. I'm passionate about that. I had an opportunity to invest about 2 years working with a publishing company out of Dallas, Texas, and that led to my second book, Collaboration Creates Currency. But what I want to speak to is the fact that number one, every speaker should and must have a book.
Yes.
Not only because of your ability to make an impact, but from a business perspective, it elevates your credibility. It puts you in a position to have something else to offer. And as you mentioned, the authority piece is phenomenal. I've had an opportunity to talk to Dawn. Dawn and I are in the process of identifying ways to collaborate, but I love her spirit and her desire to tell stories that are unique, that are authentic, and to put speakers in a position to have that authority. So I just, for everyone that speaks, if you do not have a book, definitely read this issue, learn more about Dawn, reach out to her, and find a way to solidify your brand by becoming
Mhm,
an author. It's extremely important, even for what we're doing with all our movements. It all started with a book. And
mhm,
that book then leads to opportunities for people to get to know more about you and everything else that you have to offer. So I love the title of her section here. Your book is a gateway because that's exactly what it is. And so definitely take this serious and move forward to become an author immediately.
mhm. And I will say too, this is a particular book put out by BSN. It's on Amazon. But when you're in anthology, there you go. If you're in anthologies, one of the things you may not know the people who you're in the anthology, the person who put it together, they know one another.
Right.
But if you're in an anthology, any anthology, I don't care which one you're in, reach out and try and figure out a way where you can collab with the people in the anthology. So within ours is Crystal Berger, Tiffany Bethea. Tiffany is a person that collabed with for the month of January. She just did the Baltimore BizCon. And
Mm-hmm.
so, we knew each other from this book. I mean, Cheryl Wood and uh, there are just other people that are in the book. There's about 30 people. So these are 30 people that know of you because you're in the same book. The
That's right.
same thing with the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki can reach out to Deidre, and Deidre and Nkechi can collab on some things, or Dawn and Deidre. I mean, so when you're in it, I would say there are no accidents. So when you are in a particular issue, yeah, look at your page and look at your chapter, but know that there's other people that are in between it that you need to probably connect with because it was no accident that they are in there together. So
And I would say don't look down on the fact that you're in an anthology, right? So the moment because I'm in that book as well, right? I'm excited. I was in that
yes,
book, and I took full ownership. The moment the book was in my hands, it was like having my daughter in my hands again, right? It's like I'm an author. Yes, I contributed a chapter, but I'm an author. And so, but then it's another vehicle to promote and elevate our people. And they are people because we're forever cemented in this book. So that's why I pray every day. I say, please, Lord, don't let nobody in this book do anything crazy because I'm connected to them. And vice versa, right? But
that's
at the end
true.
of the day, find a way. You get into an anthology, you have something that you can promote, and then when you help other people win, that's how you win. I mean, we learned that from Dr. George Fraser. It's like you help enough people get what they need, then it's going to open up doors for you to be able
Mhm.
to do that as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. So the
Mhm.
next one I believe is our center spread. Yes, there we go. There we go. So you got two videos on both sides, right? So you got a lot of Nkechi in this. So there you go.
Let's go.
That's
Let's
a
go.
great screenshot. Yes. So the first one was well, she's on the other side in front of the Capitol. Is She's holding her memoir, and then the other one is Reparations on Fire. You heard her really say that she took the book that she wrote on reparations and really just like redid it and said, okay, you all trying to ban the book. It's like I'm gonna come out and and refired this book up. So
That's
she
right.
did that as well. And then the children's book she republished. But the I want to say I love, love, love these pictures. This shows the energy of Nikichi all day long. So I know that doing a photo shoot, you did it with Jeff, is not easy work. It is not easy work. It takes all day. You got
All day. Jeff was phenomenal, though. It was so much fun. Oh my goodness gracious! We started out in the studio, and then we ended up taking some other shots at my home, and I don't know how many hundreds upon hundreds.
You do have hundreds of pictures. I was like, "You're gonna be good for a while with these pictures," because it's part of the branding as well, and then we did a little video. You were the first time that we did the video as well, where you're
Yeah.
stepping out of the cover, and we did the behind the scenes of the photo shoot, and then
Mm,
that's where we kinda got the information to put together for the billboard. So it's a
mm,
big deal because you're a big deal, and so I was so happy that you were able to get that done and really just showcase the books as well because like I said, every speaker needs to have a book and every author needs to speak. So they go hand in hand because
hand in hand. Yep.
you're a messenger. So yeah. So make sure that you go here and you watch those videos as well. I'm not sure which videos. I think one is the PBS video you did with Chavis, and I think the other one is just where you were doing the keynote for it was a large keynote. I can't remember which one it was. It was a large.
Columbia University, maybe.
Yes, that was it. So those are
Mhm.
those 2 videos as well. So, yeah, so that was good. So, Monet, the next page. And so this young lady here, Dr. Cheryl Cooper, she's out of the IT field and really she's got her PhD now. And if you know anything about the IT field, there's most fields, I guess, there are not a lot of women and not a lot of Black women. And so she's been in that industry for a while and she really talks a lot about her experience through that, um, the ups and the downs, and really just how a lot of times when you're in an industry that is don't want you there, it takes a lot and you almost have to be double degreed in order to to feel for them to feel like they want to bring you in or whatever. So she's actually a PhD in this whole um, field and brilliant woman. I mean, even without the degree, she's just a brilliant woman. But she was smart enough to say, okay, there's no reason why you should hold me back now. And she's bringing other
Hmm.
people forward. I call it kind of like the Harriet Tubman of IT, right? She's bringing other Black women through to let them
Mm.
know how to deal with the cybersecurity. It's a big industry. Anything that
Mm.
has a whole lot of money attached to it, they don't want to try. They try to keep African Americans out, and obviously, it's from the standpoint of like they feel like they're going to lose something if they let other people in, but that's not the case. I mean, once we get in, we really are an inclusive type of community, or I can't explain it. I think George Fraser said it. Said we're very communal. We're very
Yes.
we're not a takeover type of a spirit. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Brian, and maybe you could talk to this a little bit, YB, about he's doing
Yes.
a series. Yes, so talk about the
Yeah.
series that he's doing.
Yeah, so the fact that this popped up, and then we have Frederick Douglass again, mentioned in this piece of finding voice from adversity, really helps us to understand that, as was stated before, what has been done in the past and what's going on now is nothing new. But what needs to be new is our ability to find our voice through adversity and recognize that adversity is not actually a bad thing, because it actually becomes an asset to us. So it's like, you ever heard this phrase that they didn't think that, we talk about seeds being put in the ground. They thought just because they put dirt on us that would be the end of us, but they didn't know we were seeds, right? They didn't know we were seeds. So they put us in the ground, but they didn't realize that we were seeds and we were able to grow. So that adversity that others have gone through before us is a roadmap to how we should leverage our own adversity to find our voice and to promote that, to impact the next person that
Mhm,
comes along. And so that's what Brian focuses on, and how we as Black speakers have been able to triumph, and how we can continue to triumph by finding our voice from adversity. So this is a very powerful piece that Brian penned.
and then he has the Black History Speaker Series, and you're part of that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Opportunities for us to just tell our stories and to present in such a way that we leave our mark and we make our impression on those who have an opportunity to listen.
And everybody, you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, so make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can hear all of the speakers that'll be, um, coming up for the
It's
month of
February
February.
February 20th to the 22nd of 2024. So,
Okay, there you go.
you
So make sure that you do that. Hit that notification button. All right, good, good. So next page there. Then the next thing is our partner, PitchDB. And one of the things that I always talk about is that in order to get any speaking gigs or to get in the media, it doesn't happen by osmosis. You got to pitch. And so a lot of times people don't know where to pitch or what to say. And so PitchDB is our partner, and also with Black Speakers Network as well. It's one of those things that you need as in your toolbox. And so you can get the scan the code or get the magazine or just go to that link, speakers magazine link there, and actually get the lifetime discount for that. And it's very simple. If you spend, I would say maybe 10-20 minutes a day, the more you pitch, the more opportunities you will have to speak. And so it doesn't happen just by you working, but yeah, you gotta do the work, but, spend 10 to 20 minutes a day pitching yourself to podcasts, to media, to conference planners, conventions, and things like that, so that you can, reply to RFPs, requests for proposals for speakers. That is what this database is for you, where you can actually go in and pitch yourself. And every if you pitch yourself, say to 10 people, you may get, five responses, and out of that five, maybe you get two. But you have to. It's a numbers game.
know, right?
So if you don't know where, this is a good tool to use.
Hmm.
The other one is, and you know her, Nkechi. You know Mahogany Books. You have a story about Ramonda Lark Young. Have you met
Well,
her?
the story that I have really isn't about me, but it's about the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And Mahogany Books and Ramonda were very instrumental in working with Paul Coates from
Yeah.
Black Classic. Press. I think
Black History Press. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and highlighting the issue of a pardon for Marcus Garvey, and his son has books out. So we were all part of a big collaboration, helping to promote that whole issue. And yeah, so Mahogany was right up in Ramanda as part of that. So that's my special um,
Yeah, and
reflection.
I didn't realize that. So when you go to Mahogany Books, she has a big on the door a picture of Marcus Garvey and the quote from
Yeah,
Marcus Garvey.
yes.
And so I saw that in there, and I tried to take a picture of it because it's glass. It was not working that well or whatever. I'm always looking for pictures and that kind of thing. But yeah, that is it. So Ramonda Mahogany Books, Black owned bookstore, definitely. Uh, if you don't know what books you should be reading, just take a browse through her bookstore. It will just enlighten you. In all bookstores too, all black bookstores. So for the month of February, if you don't do it any other time, buy at least four black books. Whether you're buying them from Mahogany Books, AALBC, go to Amazon, but buy some black books. And then you know what will be cool if you take a picture of yourself holding the book for the author and tag the author. How about that?
Mhm.
That would be
Yep.
so cool,
Yep.
So, you got reparations on fire, you got black power, black lawyer, take a picture with the book and tag them and hashtag it Black History Month. That would be really small thing to do to move us all forward. So yeah, so that was
And
big.
it's an easy way to increase your visibility as well, because if that person, like for example, if we were to do that with your book here, it would increase our visibility big time, and it'd be mutually beneficial.
Mhm.
Yep, yep. All right. So next page we've got the there you go. So we've got something that's coming up in July. This is one of our partners as well, Dr. Tasha Dickinson. She's called the Big Easy Retreat. She left corporate world. Really, it was just beating her up, I guess you would say. 'Cause she was really going in a high level. And this is for a lot of black women. You can go high up in the corporate world and you feel like you're just getting it, they're squeezing the thing tighter and tighter on your head, right? So she left corporate world, started her own company, her and her daughter, because family is first before the career. So the job can just try to suck the life out of you. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to really figure out what I want to do with my life and use her skills. So she has her own company doing really well. This is the second year she's doing the Big Easy Retreat during Essence Festival. And it's a holistic retreat for all the women, corporate women who are really going through a lot of stress, I would say, in the corporate world to really figure out how to transform that stress into a life that you want to live. And so this is a thing for hers. It's not until July, but she's promoting it early. It's fabulous conference. And then Chavis. Nkechi gave us a story about her and Dr. Ben Chavis, and she's on the show. So if you go to the chavischronicles.com and you put in her name, you'll see that show as well. But we also haven't embedded it in there as well. But Dr. Ben Chavis is like the icon of the civil rights legend. Nkechi, say really the Wilmington 10, what that was about and what happened and why he went to jail.
Well, there were a group of young people, the teenagers, black teenagers in Wilmington, and they were convicted or arrested for the murder or killing of a grocery store owner or something along those lines. But I don't remember all of the details, but I know that they did not do it. Always
Mhm.
maintain their innocence. They were convicted by an all-white jury. And Ben Chavis, Reverend Ben Chavis, he was a minister, United Church of Christ, at the time. So the case gained international appeal. Amnesty International designated them as prisoners of conscience. Uh, Colleges all over the universities all over the country, particularly HBCUs, had defense committees set up in support of them. And ultimately, they were, in fact, released. And they weren't the only ones. There were many instances like this during the 60s and during the 70s where people were unjustly accused, convicted, in prison, sentenced and in prison. So,
Because they were black, basically.
exactly. So,
Yeah,
Ben
yeah.
Chavis and the Wilmington 10 was the
Mhm.
case.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. So make sure that you go to the chavischronicles.com, check that out. Check out all the series as well, but Nkechi's on one as well. And then the last page is our conclusion of our thing, and this is where I just came from. So I was in Vegas this weekend. Tim and Sharice Brown, they gave a charity preview with Elizabeth Smart. And really, one of the things that I learned doing the PR for this is that during the Super Bowl, and Tim Brown is an NFL Hall of Famer, and Sharice is just amazing. Elizabeth Smart is really an advocate for um, of child trafficking or human trafficking, or but really she was abducted. Elizabeth Smart was abducted when she was 14 years old, held captive for 9 months in Utah. And she's been out, took 10 years. Nkechi took 10 years for them to bring that to trial and to really convict her. It's just crazy, like 10 years. But the most they did this for her foundation. But one of the things they said about during Super Bowl is like this is the time where most abductions happen during Super Bowl, like for everything. Obviously, it's the most people, but that's where it is. So they're trying to bring awareness about that,
Mhm.
child trafficking, human trafficking, all of that. So she spoke. We had a show. Kelly Wright was there that did a show on this particular one. It'll air on Monday, but that's what really all the proceeds were going towards benefiting that. And Tim Brown, Sharice Brown, she also did the NFL Wives Association the following day. Again, all of that, the proceeds for that went, it's called Off the Field, went to breast cancer research. So Terry Crews and his wife, Rachel Crews, they were there. And a lot of the money went to, I don't know if you know that Rachel Crews had breast cancer, had double
Mm.
mastectomy. And so that was one of the things that they're doing good. You use your platform that you have to do good in the world, and that's where the blessings will come from. Chris Howell Communications and myself, PR person out of Texas, we help put this together and bring the media and spotlight that as well. So that's the issue for February. It is the history maker issue, going up on the billboard on Valentine's Day. So go to the cover if you can, Monet. Show us the cover. Go back. I'm sorry. That's okay. Okay. Yeah. So that will be, you'll see that face everywhere on February 14th in New York Times. So we'll actually post it. If you can't get to New York, right, we'll share the video so you can see it among the millions there. So thank you so much, Nkechi. This is again, you're so inspiring, always inspiring. And I just appreciate you uh coming back from out of town, right? From Brazil, doing your speaking engagement and then showing up with the thing, with all the things, with the magazine and the bill and the in the background. Like this woman taking care of business, you
Taking
know.
care of business,
Well,
standing on business.
thank you so very much, Dr. Pam Perry, always for the opportunities that you have afforded to me. You've definitely helped to catapult me into majordom.
Yes, yes, you deserve it. You deserve all the things. I want to see those other pictures too that were not in the studio. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah, I'm be posting some of them. I
all
haven't
right,
done it yet, but
I
yeah.
saw some of them and I was like, wow, that is so cool. That is so cool. So, with that, thank you so much. And do you have anything coming up? We want to put a website down for you so people can contact you as well. What's the best one? Black Power, Black
Yes,
Lawyer.
I would like to put my name, nikititaifa.com or .org. That
Okay.
leads you to all of my other endeavors. It leads you to the Taifa Group website. It leads you to Reparation Education Project website. It leads you to Black Power, Black Lawyer website. It has my TED Talk. It has everything there. So Nkechi Taifa, that's my name. It's shown on the screen, .org or .com.
Yes, and you'll see other articles on you as well. She's been in Essence magazine. She's been in People magazine. She's really like so humble, right? She's got a lot of stuff going on. So make sure you go to that website and check it all out, right? Because it is you'll be like, oh my God, I did it. So if you need a speaker, and don't just wait for Black History Month, but she's available all
Right.
year long. Uh,
365 days a year,
yeah,
Yeah,
366 days in terms
66
of this
this year.
year.
That's right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
for this year. So make sure that you reach out and have her virtual or have her in person. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.